Chronologically Gaming pre-show, where you can ask questions about why and how and where we are in video gamedom. We are the only channel that is checking out every single video game in order of release. No game left behind. Well, we're trying to. I'm sure we're going to leave some games behind. Started playing the games back in 1971, and we just reached December 1982. We do not shy away from bad games, terrible games, the best releases ever. We play everything on home consoles, everything on all handhelds, all home computers, and arcade games, and not just in the United States. We play everything all over the world. Howdy, Brad. Welcome in, Jeremiah. Oh yeah, we got some good ones tonight. Anybody a fan of the Atari home computer? You probably already know the game from the thumbnail. Hopefully, there won't be too many spoilers. But on this channel, when you're here for the live show, I never say anything about holding back on spoiling. Just say it all. Put it all in the chat. Put it in everything you want, because I always want as much information about games, especially if you got a good story of whenever you played this the first time, because that's kind of what we're trying to capture, is what is it like to play these games the very first time, as if, you know, you were able to play everything out there. Oh yeah, Brad. Synapse Software is the reason why this era or generation of gaming is pretty much on par with the 8-bit generation, or I mean, you know, the fourth generation of consoles. Oh, there we go. The Atari 400. Oh, then maybe you can spot, there's a demo video that I'm going to play in the background for the Atari 400. I know, Brian. This show used to be so often, so long. We used to do an hour show. Whenever I first kicked this off, I did a whole hour show every weekday, and now we've cut it down to half an hour, and now we're cutting it down to a one live video a week. But we're also going to be posting a backlog video, a few shorts, but it'll just help keep it consistent without so many times we're off. You know, unless the computer blows up again. Hey, Mike, welcome in. I don't know how long I'm going to be playing the main star attraction today, but it's pretty good. I might be playing a lot of it just because it's surprisingly good. Oh, there we go. Oh, the 800 XL. Yeah, we don't know what that one is yet. That's that series of computers for the Atari we haven't seen as well. Thanks so much, Brian. Yeah, if I can keep a good pace, then I think that would be better than taking off for a few weeks at a time. That's right, Jeremiah. We are only live Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Central. This is the only live show that we do every week. And then we do have a backlog video that we post usually Thursday or Friday. And then we're going to do shorts, you know, YouTube shorts that are posted. So it's now down to one time a week. But we do a longer show. So this episode, we'll try to cover more games. Or, I don't know, the Star Attraction, I might be playing a little bit more of it. But as always, there's going to be surprises. You never know what game's going to show up, because at this point, no one really knows the release date. So we're doing the best I can to hash when they come out in order of release. I feel like if we got to the 90s, or the late 90s, when release dates were a little bit better to pin down, people would be anticipating and know what game was coming up next. But right now, I'd be surprised if most people don't know what, because when you play everything, we're hitting on really obscure titles, really strange, weird games. Yeah, Jeremiah, it was a post that we did on YouTube and then Patreon, just to say we're now doing one episode a week. But got some good stuff coming. I know, and we're near the end of 1982. We still have a lot of games, even though it's December. We play all the games released in December, then we play all the games released sometime in December, and then after that we play all the games released at some time in 1982. So we'll be in 1982 a little while longer. All right, it's showtime. Hey, it's Chronologically Gaming, the only channel that's perpetually retro because we're playing every video game in order of release. Join me seeing every single video game as we check out the releases in the beginning of December 1982. We were last playing text adventures on home computers. Let's see what our next game is. We're next going to play Firefighter 64 on the Commodore 64. You see that? All you new age kids thought the Nintendo 64 had the 64 moniker? Oh no. Commodore 64 was the first one to inspire video games to all be called 64. Let's take a look at the box. So this is also known as just Firefighter, as you can see here, not to be confused with the Atari 2600 Firefighter or Firefighter that's also on the Commodore 64 way later in 1991 by Lodestar. This is a totally different game. This is our 38th game we've seen for the Commodore 64 so far. Only 38 games for a computer that's going to go on to sell millions and millions of copies of computers. So it says Gremlin Software on this box that I could find, and this is the game because this is what we're supposed to be doing. This is what we're going to be checking out, whether it's Firefighter or Firefighter 64. But I believe this box is a later box. We have never seen Gremlin Software before. This is the very first time, so it might be this is a re-released box. If we flip over the box, oh no, it's just a cassette tape? That's right. We played video games on cassettes on home computers right now in December 1982. Fight the fires, save the homes and forests, should use water, backburn, or fire breaks. Your life could depend on your decision. Let's see the other artwork for Firefighter. There we go. Besides the box, we have the cassette tape that will pop in. And there we go, Firefighter in quotes 64. That's right, Brian. Way later in the future, we're going to see the Ultra 64. I have no idea what that is. I'm in December 1982, so that's so far in the future. Here's the fabricated box for Firefighter 64 with an example of the screenshot, and that's basically all we have. Let's pop in that cassette to play Firefighter 64 by Walter W. Aldridge, published by Luna Software and then later by Gremlin in the beginning of December 1982. This first version I'm playing on tape. It's presented by Software? Presented by, oh, there it is. Luna comes flying in. This is the 6th game we've seen by Luna Software, bringing us games like Cosmic Snake, Galactic Crossfire, and Alien Soccer. And this is the very first and only game that Walter W. Aldridge ever done. After this, he faded into obscurity. Firefighter 64 is a logic action game. I love when video games now describe what they are because they're always different. There's no set genre. We're trying to do it on Chronologically Gaming, but they have no idea. And yes, Mike, the tape did look homemade, at least that one that I found the scan. So the computer can be plugged into the keyboard or joystick. Oh, yeah, we're doing joystick for sure. Hit J for joystick. You can use the joystick first, plug it into the control port. Number 2, there it is. We've seen this for a few times already, where we expect the first player to be plugged into joystick 1, but no, they're going to be switching back and forth between joystick 1 and 2, especially on the Commodore 64. Which one do you plug it into? Well, if it doesn't work on one, you unplug it and plug it in the other one. So it tells us what we can do. We use the joystick to move the selection around, but then we have to use the keyboard. F1, F3, and F5. That's how we drop different things to fight the fires. Very interesting. All right, so let's hit a key. How difficult do we want the game to go? 1's the easiest, and 9's the most difficult. Let's just do it easy game so you can understand what Firefighter 64 is. Now, the game begins with a randomly generated map. It's randomly picking all this and building the map for us. I'm going to fast forward through this so we don't have to wait, but in December 1982, you would have had to sit here and wait for this to draw everything out, including the lakes after that, and the towns, and then the fire starts. So now that we begin the game, I have control of this crosshair, an extremely large crosshair that moves around the screen. And then when you're ready to do something, you can actually see it right here above my shoulder. Press F1, F3, F5. So the one button that I'm using on my Commodore 64 does nothing. There's nothing that all you can do is use the keyboard to drop something down. Wait for it. Oh, but if you take then it is a turn-based game. I did not push the button in time because it gives me a little bit of time to make my selection. Then after that, the computer goes, which means the fire starts to spread, which you saw down at the bottom left. Now it's reading my input of the airdrop. So you can see the planes coming down. It's dropping my airdrop in the location that I wanted to drop it. There, splash. Did I douse any fire? No. And then the computer does its turn, and the fires starts fighting itself. So it's a turn-based strategy game. The 50th turn-based strategy game we've seen. But it does have a little simulation mixed in, because we're supposed to be firefighters. All right, let's try this again. Give me, can I do a backfire? No, how about a break? So I choose to set up a fire break in that location, and then computer does its turn, fires start to spread. That bottom left, whoever's living in the house way down there, they're going down. Man. And some people in the chat are mentioning the model that you would play on the Commodore 64. Yeah, right now the cassette tape was very, very expensive. Hey, Prime 1, thanks so much. We're in the beginning of December 1982. We do play every single video game, and this is Firefighter 64 on the Commodore 64. All right, so I'm going to do an airdrop. Let's see if we can just blow this out of the water. Literally. This game is single player only. It's a turn-based strategy game where you don't get to play with anybody else. You're playing against the fire, and that's it. They do offer the difficulty levels, which is kind of nice, and they're randomly generated as things we've seen before. Has a time constraint a little bit, but I still consider this a turn-based video game. It's not necessarily a real-time game because you're having to take turns back and forth. Wait for it. Okay, there's my crosshair again. What? It did feel like it didn't do anything. Give me another airdrop. The digital joystick combined with the keyboard controls isn't new because there's a few home computer games that you can pause the action hitting spacebar, or maybe a few commands when we play Defender variants, because they don't have all those buttons on computer joysticks right now. Whenever you want to play back and forth keyboard and joystick, that's usual. But to have a strategy game with joystick at all is really nice. That's pretty good. Oh, so backfires the controlled burn and stays controlled. Okay, let's see if we can do it again. Does it let me do it here? Maybe that'll keep this one away. Of all the games we played up to this point, the simulation side of it's interesting, but the gameplay itself is very lackluster. There's lots of really good strategy games by SSI, war games, and so forth. But to play a game where you're having to fight a computer fire, it just doesn't seem that appealing. If someone in the live chat or in the comments down below wants to tell me how cool or unique this is, go for it. But after seeing every single game up to this point, and this being our 50th turn-based strategy game we've seen, I don't really have a lot of appeal to this. Firefighter 64 is an interesting novelty, but it's not really an immersive, amazing video game. Go! We have played firefighting games. This is the 14th that we've seen up to this point. Fire was one of the first ones we saw on the Commodore PET. After that, we saw Fire on the Game & Watch, the silver version and the widescreen version, and also Mickey and Donald was on the Game & Watch that had firefighting. We also saw Firebird on the Apple II and the Atari home computer. Towering Rescue was a handheld firefighting game by Gakken. Firefighter by a Magic was the one on the Atari 2600. Towering Inferno was a really good one on the Atari 2600. But you know what this one really reminds me of? A game we had played called Forest Fire 2 on the Atari home computer. It's the closest to this of like the turn-based simulation slash strategy game. Yeah, right? And looking over in the chat, people are already throwing out ratings. And that's what we do here on the show. Picture yourself being in December 1982, and this is all these games are, we don't know any games about the future. How would you rate this based on everything else that's available on all home computers right now? I'm going to have to go pretty low. So there you go. There's the taste of Firefighter 64. At least your first experience if you popped in that cassette or tape to play. I would give this subpar, below average. Looking over in the chat, I got a 2 to 2.5 star. 2.5 from James. Mike's saying he would have hated it. Yes, if you're playing it as a kid, for sure. Maybe it's something of for an adult that would enjoy it better. Jeremiah's throwing 2 stars out. So of all the games you could play across all home computers right now, I don't necessarily want to call it in the bad range. I'm going to say 2.5 stars. It's okay when you consider the other games out there, but it is competing against way better strategy games that you would find much more enjoyable, but I don't want to say bad. It's not a bad video game, at least everything up to this point. All right, after that game, let's see what the next one is. We're next going to play on the Commodore 60. Wait, no, the Commodore VIC-20. It's still going on, even though there's a Commodore 64 out there. This is Firefighter 2. So Firefighter 2 is, I don't know where Firefighter 1 is. This is the only game. If they made a Firefighter 1, it's even more rare because all I have is a few screenshots for this compared to the first game. But it's made by the same person, the same idea. This one's going to be our 332nd game that we've played so far on the Commodore VIC-20. This one is by Luna Software, the 7th game we've seen by this company, and it still is by Walter W. Aldridge. So I guess this is the second game that Walter did. Way to go, Walter. It is the same Firefighter game, but why it's called Firefighter 2, I'm not sure if it's an update or a remaster or a re-release or so forth. All right, so let's pop in Firefighter 2 to play on the Commodore VIC-20. Luna Software, in the beginning of December 1982. All right, so this one kicks off with a completely different aesthetic. I don't have joystick control. I have to type in the coordinates. I have to put in the row and column of where I want the fire to go. Already a downgrade compared to the game we just played on the Commodore 64. They're trying to make the Commodore 64 look better. It's a conspiracy, I tell you. But yeah, it's a turn-based strategy game that's even lower tier than what we just saw on the Commodore 64. I'm not enjoying it nearly as much, and I would say that, yeah, I would say this one, I'm already going to stop that because Firefighter 2 is not even worth the time. I'm just going to say, of all the games you could play up to this point, I will call this one a bad game. I can understand why this one faded into obscurity even more than Firefighter 64. Play Firefighter 64 if you had to choose between the two right now. All right, so after that game, let's see what our next game is. Well, I get even lower ratings. Over in the chat, we got 1.5 stars. Yes, and no, it is not 2-player. It's a 1-player only game as well. All right, our next video game is on the Atari home computer. Let's check out Fort Apocalypse. I love the name, and we've seen it in ads already. It's time to finally play Fort Apocalypse. Oh, yeah. Oh, and it's by Synapse Software. The box, the way that they do their computer video games, everything we've seen by this company so far is amazing. They are the reason why I am a big fan of this era of gaming. They are pushing the limits, and they remind me of a lot of games we're going to see on the Sega Master System and Nintendo Entertainment System. That's how good Synapse Software is, in my opinion. This is the 436th game we've seen on the Atari home computer so far. This is Synapse Software's 13th game we've seen up to this point. After Protector 1 and 2, Chicken, Nautilus, Slime, Seamus, Picnic Paranoia, Necromancer, and Survivor. Really, really good games. Hits, if you will. The front of the box is pretty good too. Let's flip it over on the back. Oh, and someone's bringing up the copy of this. Yeah, I don't have a copy of this. Thanks so much for everyone on the internet bringing us the scan so we can check this out. It's multiplayer arcade combat action. Requires joysticks, disk drive, or cassette. Wait, what? Multiplayer? What do they mean multiplayer? I thought this was a single player only. How do you play with multiple people? I am intrigued. I wonder if they changed something up in the game, or the version I have isn't multiplayer. All right, let's see the other artwork for Fort Apocalypse. So we have the version that was done for the cassette, which is right here. It was also on cartridge, and it was also on disc. All the medium that you would want to play video games, you can do it all, right? Nice, Steve. Oh, you need to hang out with that friend if he's got this game. So it's going to be released later with another box. Oh, here's the ad you would have seen from magazines at the time with some games that we've already checked out. The only one we haven't seen is Reptilian, which I don't believe we're going to get a release. There might be a prototype around there somewhere, but we have seen Claim Jumper and Seamus, and here it is, Fort Apocalypse. Synapse Software is killing it. So this is the later box by Load and Go Software. It was done in 1984 by Synapse Software, or by Synsoft, and then also by Load and Go Software in 1986. So there's Load and Go, the later box, which I don't think we're going to see in 1986. And then here's the box by Synsoft. Play this multi-level extravaganza 3 different ways. You and your chopper bomb and fire on vile enemies, navigate hazards like deadly laser rooms, hyper energy chambers, rescue the 18 trapped friends. Oh, that's great. Yeah, and there's the front of the box. Oh, it has US gold because this one, again, is 1984. It's a different time. I also wanted to show everyone this. This is a map, the entire map of Fort Apocalypse. It shows all 3 levels, and the game itself is based in these 3 columns or 3 levels as you go deeper and deeper. When you get to the bottom level, you blow up Fort Apocalypse, and then that's the game. So here I want to show you the map in its entirety. It's really important that you know that this is the whole size of the entire game. This game does not loop. Whenever you get to the end of the game, it's over. It's very similar to Necromancer, which had Necromancer had parts of it that were like an arcade game, but when you got to the end, it didn't keep looping. You couldn't go for a high score after that. And there we go. We got the cartridge for Fort Apocalypse, or FT Apocalypse. Now I'm wondering, why did the back of the box say multiplayer? Because every source I've seen, and whenever I play the game, it's only a 1-player game. There's another ad from magazines with Survivor, and Protector 2. Incredible game. Synapse Software is amazing right now, along with some few screenshots. So, yeah, let me check out that box again. The back said multiplayer, right? Yeah, it did. What in the world? This one is the back of I believe, the disc box. So I wonder if the disc version, but I still found no sources about that. I wonder if it's a misprint. All right, let's check out the manual for Fort Apocalypse by Steve Hales. This is the 3rd time we've seen Steve on the show. He did Slime and Suicide Mission. So this is the loading instructions for Fort Apocalypse, whether cassette or disc, and how to start the game. The Kralthans and their dreaded Fort Apocalypse must be destroyed before they destroy you. Your mission begins at your fuel depot. After refueling your jet copter, you must fly through the portals of the Draconis Caves and bomb through the access doors. After blowing an entrance into the first level of defense, you maneuver through the caves, blasting through impact shields into the hyper chambers and subterranean elevators. You must rescue 8 prisoners from the Draconis level. After completing the Draconis level, you descend into the Crystalline Caves. You must rescue an additional 8 men from various locations in the Crystalline Caves and then proceed into the Heart of Darkness, Fort Apocalypse itself. After the fortress is destroyed, you must fly back through the Kralthan Caves to freedom in order to complete your mission. So you do go to the bottom, blow it up, and then you have to leave. You have a rocket copter controlled by the joystick. So we got a helicopter and a rocket copter. You fire interceptor rockets pressing the joystick fire button. And I have an Atari VCS joystick plugged in. You have 1 red button to play this game. You have interceptor rockets used to destroy the Kralthan tanks, missile drones, and plasma bombs too. Oh, we have a fuel depot. We have to make sure we refuel. The Navitron is a long-range navigational aid. It will give you information about the terrain as well as enemy units in the area. You have Kralthan tanks, impact shields and access doors, self-propelled mines, robo-chopters, and then all the prisoners, all you got to do is pick them up with your rocket copter. There's landing pads that are scattered throughout the caves, and whenever you land on them, it is essentially a checkpoint. So you have checkpoints within the game as you make your way or descend down below. Hyperchambers are distinguished from laser chambers by their glowing nodes. And then we have rotating field envelopes, RFEs. There's shafts of defense network with energies that block, and you have to fire your button and destroy the block. So this game has destructible environments, kind of like Nautilus that we've already seen by Synapse Software. The fort's destroyed with a well-aimed missile from your rocket copter, and they explain what the options are. And see, right here in the manual, at least this one, doesn't say anything about multiplayer. It's a single-player only experience. You have to rescue all survivors in order to move to the next level, monitor your fuel supply, and they give us those tips at the end, which is really, really, really nice. There we go. All you need is 32K for disc and cassette and only 16K if you're on cartridge. So someone let me know if you ever played this multiplayer. I'm going to keep it single player because I can't find any other sources besides the back of the box that says it's multiplayer. We have some alternate versions like the version in the United Kingdom by Synsoft, but we're going to play the very first. Let's pop in Fort Apocalypse to play by Steve Hales and Synapse Software in the beginning of December 1982. Bring it in. Bring it on. Oh, yes. I'm loving the sound already. It's already getting me in the mood to shoot things. Synapse Software is the reason why the arcade game, home game gap is closing. They're making video games that are as good as the arcade or better than in the arcade. So I'm expecting this game to be amazing. This is awesome. All right, so it goes into an attract mode, just like an arcade game. Check it out. All right. Fort Apocalypse is played with a multi-directional scrolling cave. Viewed from the side, similar to Choplifter. As opposed to Scramble, the map does not automatically scroll, and the player is free to move in any direction. They're scrolling all over the place. The map's divided into 4 vertical sections, with the uppermost being at ground level and the lowest containing the Fort Apocalypse. The 2 middle layers, the Draconis and Crystalline Caves, both contain a landing pad that saves the game's progress and allows the player to reanimate at the point if they're destroyed. You have 8 hostages that are picked up in both of the middle layers, and the map's further divided into sections by special walls that can be broken open. You get to break your way into the fort. If the player's chopper is destroyed or runs into cavern walls or shot down by all the enemies or caught by one of the lasers or moving wall traps, you have 2 weapons, a gun, and bomb, but only 1 button on the joystick. You have the 1 red button to play this. All right, so let's check out the game mode options here. So what you can do is, if you push the option button, it switches between your gravity skill, pilot skill, and then robo-pilot. So what you can do is, after you get to an option, you push select, and you can do a normal, strong, or weak game, and then the same with the pilot skill. So let's do a weak gravity. Wait, do we want weak? No, let's do normal gravity. So you can change the gravity up if you want. You can do novice pilot skill, or pro, or expert. We'll keep it on novice, and then for robot pilots, you can do how many lives you essentially have. You can see 11, 7. We'll keep it with 11 right now. All right, here we go. And start. Entering the vaults of Draconis. So you begin. Oh man, it looks just like Choplifter with the helicopter on the top. So we're already low on fuel, so what you do is you just navigate to the pad. Really easy landing. Touch the fuel pad. Come down to the bottom, you can see our fuel starts filling up. Apparently, Steve Hales said in an interview that he was developing a game just like this before Choplifter was released, but he stopped. And he ended up doing the game Slime and releasing the game Slime first, and then came back to this one. So, according to Steve Hales, this game would have been the first Choplifter-like game, but Choplifter beat him to it. So, we have to call this one a variant of Choplifter. It's really close, too. What blows me away is the top of the screen. Take a look at the radar. Oh man, the shot? Wait, why am I not able to shoot this? Oh, you gotta aim it on top of it. Okay. We have enemies down below. The radar's telling us where they are. But the radar is wait a second. Yeah, look at the radar. The radar is able to move left and right, but it's actually able to scroll down. Whoa, it has smooth scrolling down, but not on the top. Interesting. Oh, and there it is. I can turn my craft to shoot down and destroy the blocks to make to the next level. I don't think I can get them. I gotta bomb them. Yeah. And whenever you lose a life, it's fast. It just goes really quick. Grab some more fuel if I want to. The bonus that we see in the top right is just how fast you can finish the whole level, but wow, this is awesome. I can't believe how good this controls. Now, oh, there it is. Our mortal enemy. When we first saw Choplifter on the Apple II, you had 2 buttons. You had a button to swivel back and forth and change. So this one is done really well with 1 button, because I can just do I would actually say it's controlling better than Choplifter that we saw ported to the Atari home computer. Hit detection was a little bit off on some of those enemies, but sound is really good. You can see right here, look at the hit detection there. I gotta be able to make my way down to the next level, so I'm gonna do that. Go down here, collect all the people we need to collect. Make sure you touch the pad, because this is essentially our checkpoint. So now if we die, we'll show up on this level. Let's go with this. The pickup's really easy too. I don't have to do a landing like I do in Choplifter. I essentially am just touching the captured men, and then you rescue them. I gotta watch my fire though. I'm looking at the radar at the top too to see how I have anybody in the vicinity. And this one's really cool. This area coming up is a warp. Man, I just love how the game's designed. Level design reminds me of quite a few games that we played so far. A little bit like Nautilus that I mentioned, how you're getting to explore a larger area. Survivor also gives me the idea of we're doing something that's just a bigger game, not taking place on one area or one location. Nice and easy now. You can see right here, this is the next section. You have to make your way down even lower, but they won't let you go. I already died. They won't let you go any lower until you rescue all of the hostages first. But the different enemy types, and I would say the level is what makes this the best. But wow, there's so much to say about this type of game. This one is essentially not just a scrolling. It's not just a scrolling shoot 'em up. It's like a mixture of an arcade game and a shooter that's slightly exploratory. Like we're not just having to go in one location or one thing. All right, let's rescue everybody here. Okay, we got one more left. Let's see if we can find them. So this is where we need to go down, but we can't do it until we rescue the last guy. There's been games that can't be defined as like a true shoot-'em-up or an auto-scrolling shoot-'em-up that we've seen so far. Games like Invaders from Hyperspace on the Odyssey 2, Sky Skipper by Nintendo that's in the arcade right now, Marine Boy that's in the arcade, Buried Bucks is another one that happens to be controlled by a helicopter that's really good right now too. Also, you really need to compare this to Chopper Rescue by Microprose. That one is exceptional. This one, however, is single player only. Chopper Rescue had lots of multiplayer modes to check out. Now, I could try for the warp, which I think I'm going to try. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. It just lets you warp from place to place. Oh, but don't touch the walls. I don't know if I can call it action-adventure because it's essentially doing what Shoplifter did. That one's not the warp. We need to find our last hostage. And then we can make it to the next level and go work our way down. What's wrong with these lasers? Okay, I think we got him. There he is. Okay, we got him. Now we can make our way all the way to the left with hopefully not being destroyed by the lasers. Quick! Also notice we didn't have to return them to another location. Once you rescue the hostages, that's it. Okay, now we go to the next level. Entering the Crystalline Caves. I'm taking my time because I'm explaining the game. We're also playing on the easiest difficulty, so you do have other options and replayability, but the map is all that I showed before we started here. That's all this game is those 4 levels. Then you blow it up, you blow up Fort Apocalypse, then you go out. I can't believe it's funny. And then we have the checkpoints too. It's so good in the way it's presented. Okay, make our way past this one. You can see we get a couple right there. Plexar was here. I wonder if that's supposed to be an Easter egg or something. This is so good. I wonder why that one didn't blow him up. I think that one wrapped around for us, right? Yeah. Make our way this side. We got to be able to go down here, but you have to make sure you wait until you make it the right time. Look at this. In a way, those areas remind me of all the scramble variants we've seen so far. Changing up the game to give you different obstacles to get past. It's awesome. It's so good. All right, so the other thing I wanted to bring up was that this is the 50th video game that we played that has a mini-map or a radar in the game. The 50th video game, and this mini-map and this radar is the very first time we've seen a freely scrolling radar where it's scrolling in all directions. Radar and mini-maps are not new. We've seen games they've been in Rally X and Defender. Now, Defender did scroll, left and right. Rally X and Bosconian were static maps, mini-maps. But this one's freely scrolling, up, down, all around. It's very, very impressive. It is a little choppy, I can see on the left, or when you go left and right. And you can see there's my rank, making it to the end. But man, oh man, it's good. It's so fun to play. Now, we've also seen another game that this reminds me of, which was Victory, that we saw in the arcades. Victory was a freely scrolling game, more like a cave shooter, which is very early cave shooter. And the radar was gigantic. The minimap was very, very large, and it was still scrolling, left to right, but it wasn't scrolling up and down. But it has similar vibes as this one, how you're able to fly around a really large area. Pilots left 10. Let's go fill up on fuel. Such a cool idea. This game would be a treat to have right now. So good. Controls really well with the joystick. And the cartridge, if you are playing on the cartridge version, this is a cartridge that is 16 kilopower. The largest sized cartridge that we've seen so far. Several games have a 16 kilobyte sized cartridge, but they put out no stops for this one. I need to switch to my bombs. Let's go to this side. Just destroy them. Oh, that time the other helicopter got me. No fault of the controls, though. The gravity option that I gave us with normal, notice how we're slowly descending, but you can mess with that too and have different game options for a different experience. I would love to know if this really is multiplayer, because that would set this even higher, in my opinion, for all the games you could play up to this point. But I can only see this as a single-player only experience. They keep a temporary high score for you, which is really nice. And I already mentioned it as a variant of Choplifter, especially by the way this looks, but I mean, it's debatable which one came first. We are saying Choplifter, and I'm sure Steve Hales and Dan Gorlin, like the developers, can be developing lots of games at the same time. We're only considering the releases, though, of the games when they came out, when we could play them, or you could play them in December 1982. Oh, right now, yeah. Paul's mentioning the Atari 2600 cart sizes. At this point, the largest Atari 2600 cart size we've seen has been 4 kilobytes. But where it's going to go, in the future, we're going to have huge, I think you said as much as 128 kilobytes. That's ridiculous. That makes no sense to me right now. At this point, we've seen Choplifter first on the Apple II, then we have also seen it for the Atari home computer and the Commodore VIC-20. There's been variants of Choplifter that we've seen up to this point, like Lunar Leaper and Rescue, that we saw in the arcades. This one is kind of like a variant of Choplifter just because of how closely it plays. You could call this a variant of Chopper Rescue by Microprose if you wanted to, but this one is the 26th game that we've seen so far where you're getting to control a helicopter, or a helicopter is the main protagonist of the game. It's also the 49th video game that is a transport game, which means you're transporting cargo, luggage, people, you're moving them from place to place. We're going to see this game next year on the Commodore 64, and I'd like to see how this one fares because this one is exceptional. This is a very, very good game. And I haven't seen anyone throw out ratings yet for this title. This is really good. Of all the games you could play up to this point in December 1982, Ford Apocalypse is a real treat. The only thing that this game has that's bringing it down is the brevity. It's just too short to go through the 4 levels, blow it up, and then come back, and then it doesn't repeat. There is no high arcade loop. It also doesn't have the game modes or play modes that most other games have. So it's still really, really good. Brad's throwing out 5 stars of all the games you could play across all home computers right now. That's a big one. James is saying 4.5 to 5 stars. Oh, yes, and I would say the hit detection as well, James, yeah. Jeremiah's saying 4 stars. Paul's saying 4 to 5. Mike's not impressed as compared to all the games out there. And Mike Mayberry, saying 4 stars. I'm going to say it's... I'm going to say more than 4 because this is doing lots of things that we haven't seen other games do because we've seen tons of Defender variants, tons of Scramble variants, and this one is just a notch above all of those. So we've seen very good ones that I said 4 stars. I'm going to have to say 4.5, but I won't say 5 because of the other things that I said that brought it down. It's still one of the best games that you could play right now on any home computer. Way to go, Ford Apocalypse. And I just want to see what else is Synapse Software going to do because most of their games are really good hits. All right, let's see what our next game is. All right, a breath of fresh air. I don't know what we're going to get, though, because this is Frogger. on the Timex Sinclair 1000, or if you ported it over to the to Europe, the Sinclair ZX81. This is Frogger. How are they going to do? We've already seen Frogger on the TRS-80. What's Frogger going to be like on a calculator? Here's the box for the official Frogger. You can see it's Timex Sinclair 1000. I only found some sources of this only being in North America for the Timex Sinclair 1000. I don't know for sure if it really was ported to other places, because there's another game called Frogger that was released in the United Kingdom for the Sinclair ZX81, but they had to change the name. We're going to be seeing that one a little bit later when it released at some time in 1982. So this game is the 94th video game that we've seen for this calculator, the Sinclair ZX81 or Timex Sinclair 1000. This is the 10th game we've seen in the official series of Frogger. So we saw the arcade game of Frogger in June 1981. We've seen Frogger on the NEC PC 6001. We've seen Frogger on the Atari 2600, the Coleco handheld Frogger, the Atari 800, or the Atari home computer, the Apple II, the TRS-80, the Tommy Tudor, or the Puta, and the Philips VideoPack G7000. This is by Timex, published by Timex. The 5th time we've seen this company bringing us games like Backgammon, Big Flap Attack, and the very strange Batcage. This box looks just like the ones we saw that Sierra did, because we've seen the ports of Frogger for other home computers. The first ports, at least, of Frogger. Yes, right? Jeremiah's saying you got a copy of this. If I flip it over the back, you bet it's a cassette tape. We're playing Frogger on a calculator. It has to be on cassette. This is by Konami. In other words, licensed first by Konami, because they're the ones that originally made it. The 37th time we've seen Konami up to this point. They've done 18 games in the arcade so far. 3 for the NEC 6001. 1 game because it's Frogger on the Atari home computer and the Apple II. 2 on the Intex Adventure Vision, 1 on the VideoPack, 3 on the Puta, 1 on the Sword M5, 3 on the Arcadia 2001. This is the first time that a Konami game has been on the Sinclair ZX81. And you can see there's Sega here because the licensing was picked up by Sega. This is the 44th time we've seen Sega on the show, but not to be confused with Sega Gremlin. They've done 40 games so far in the arcade. We've seen 1 on the Atari 2600, 2 on the ColecoVision, and Cornsoft is the one that did this port. Way to go, Cornsoft. Do we have any other artwork for Frogger on a calculator? Besides the box, we have a screenshot, exactly what I expected it to look like. And we have the manual. Tell us how to play Cornsoft. This is the 10th time we've seen Cornsoft on Chronologically Gaming. They've done games like Scarfman, Space Castle, Avenger, and just recently, Crazy Painter. It tells us how to load, and the instructions say the frog is hopped by pressing the keys A, Z, N, or M to go up, down, left, and right. Is it in quotes because we're not really going to hop, or I guess it doesn't look like we're hopping? Maybe there's not enough animation. You have to avoid the traffic, snakes, crocodiles, and treacherous diving turtles. The frog must reach home before time runs out. That's right, it's Frogger. It's official Frogger. There's the scoring and bonus points. Hashtag LadyFrog. And you got loading instructions down there with some suggestions about how to load. If you can't, have to adjust that volume. Let's pop in that cassette tape to play the official Frogger by the Cornsoft Group, released in the beginning of December 1982. Let's see how this... Oh, look at this. This is so cool. Now, bear in mind, you probably would be playing this on a really small computer. Remember, the Sinclair ZX81 and the Timex Sinclair 1000 is a really small computer. It's so tiny. And it uses a membrane keyboard. Like you could spill a cup of coffee on it and be just fine, because it's very similar to a calculator. So I really want to see how this works. How in the world? Okay, press P to play. How many players? Let's do a 2-player game. It is hot seat multiplayer, so you don't get to play at the same time. But I'll do, just to show you the difficulty, let's make player 1 really easy. Let's do a 0 for player 1. And player 2, let's crank it up to 4. So here we go. Player 1 is going. The way that you control this is the keyboard. You use A, Z, X, and C to move up, down, left, and right. So you're just pushing on your keyboard, your little spongy keyboard, to get Frogger to move around. And it works. I do see maybe a little animation. Maybe I'm imagining the animation. But there is no sound. There's no music. Nothing like that. There is very rare cases where we get some sound or music from the ZX81 because they're doing some trickery. But I'm talking like only one or two that have that. To tell you the truth, I was just about to jump into the home and thought it was an alligator there, but it was the fly, just because it's hard to tell which one's which. All right, you ready? This is the max level. Look how fast everything is on level 4 when you play as player 2. Whoa. That is unfair. That's barely playable because you have to remember you're playing this keyboard controlled only. All right, let's go back to easier. Oh. Oh man, in a way this is too fun. I'm just a fan of Frogger and I like to see other versions of Frogger. They're doing the same thing we saw on the TRS-80 version, which is Frogger isn't taking place all on the same screen. We go to the next screen to get Frogger home. It flips to the next one. And there's only 4 places at the top? Am I miscounting? I think it's 5 in the arcade, right? So this is so fun. It's very quaint, but obviously, I mean, it kind of gets the job done, but then at the same time, you can understand how, look, this feels like I'm making the Timex Sinclair work too hard. It's even doing a little bit of slowdown. Yes, James, it is not a disaster. This could be worse, and to be honest, we've played worse Froggers, way worse Froggers up to this point. So many variations of Frogger, but I'm still having fun. They keep a little temporary high score there for you. All right, let's just do a one-player game. Keep it at skill level 0 so we don't get squashed too many times. So this one is honestly better than I would have expected, just because of the playability, how it responds for the most part, you know, considering the keyboard, of course. It's also very forgiving. Notice that if I'm hitting the edge of a log or the edge of one of the platforms I need to jump to, it counts it. It's not as strict, basically. I can't believe I made it through that one. Whoa. How do you push the key that fast? No. Wait. Oh, wait. Let it. See? See, it's forgiving. It's a nice Frogger variant. So when we saw this on the TRS-80, it was pretty good. I said, even though it was monochrome, it was very playable, it had music. It was awesome. I said 4 stars for all the games you could play on home computers. And this year, 1982, has been the year of official Frogger for releases. All those other ones that I mentioned, the majority of them were home computers. All right, let's see if we get anything fancy. I didn't see any of the Lady Frog. Did anyone notice? Probably because I can barely tell which one is the Lady Frog. Oh, gosh, yep, and they're already speeding up the difficulty. We're already getting a rating from Paul here on the live show. 3.5 to 4. Oh, I see. 3.5 to 4 for the Sinclair ZX81, but 2.5 overall when he's saying compared to all the games you could play on all home computers. And yes, I'd bring it down because playing on this as the keyboard control only is really what's bringing it down. Oh, look at the turtles dive underwater. Okay, now I can see that it's a fly at the top. Got it. I don't see the Lady Frog, though. It works. For my first experience, after seeing every video game up to this point on all home computers, this is not bad. I could not call this a 2-star game because it plays and it works. And then Mike's agreeing with Paul on this one. M. Tiskey saying 2.5 stars. James is throwing out 2.5 to 3, and Jeremiah is throwing out 3. Yeah, that's good. If it had playability or play control with a joystick or a way to play with not just that keyboard, then it would have been rated higher. The TRS-80 version had it, so that's why I would say still holds at a 4-star game for all the games you could play up to this point. On the Sinclair ZX81, this is pretty good. I'd say yes, 3.5 to 4 for this on the Sinclair ZX81. Maybe 4 for the Timex Sinclair 1000. For all the games, though, you could play on all home computers right now, I got to sit just straight average. Average for everything you could play up to this point. Brad's with me there. Jeremiah, 3 stars. James is also saying, 3. MTISC's a little bit lower. I'd still say, yeah, average. For everything you could play on home computers, it gets the job done, and you'd have a good time, especially if you were that poor kid who had the Timex Sinclair 1000 and not, you know, a Coco or a Atari home computer. All right, that's where we got to put all our video game playing on pause. We will keep going on this crazy quest to see and play or showcase as many video games as we can in chronological order, because that's what we do on Chronologically Gaming. Next time on the show, we play some fun games, shoot invaders in Japan, go to Jericho, dig not quite like Dig Dug, and Gorf gets ported to a home computer. That's it for today, and like I always say, we didn't really fight any fires or really save anyone, but video games give you the sense of accomplishment to make you feel like you really did. Hey everybody, thanks for checking out the channel and joining me on my quest to play every single video game in order of release. We'll be streaming live every weekday at 9 p.m. Central, so join us and let us know if we missed any games along the way. This video would not be possible without Launchbox, RetroArch, and MAME. Tell all your friends there's some crazy guy named Chronologically Gaming trying to play every single video game. We have links down below that'll send you to places like our Discord and Patreon, and one that says all the video games we've ever played. If you go there, it's a list of everything, and you can click right to the game you want to see. Chronologically Gaming is the name to look for. We are perpetually retro, and we will catch you next time.